Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill.
Good feet on the old man.
This is some back.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. All right, welcome into a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders, live here on this Wednesday. Remember to hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind, live here on YouTube. We'll talk to Jacques Doucette coming up here at 8:15 this morning. Typical Wednesday programming for you here on the show, built by R&B. As we said, we appreciate you being there. Our phone line brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group, real doctors, real solutions. Get in touch with Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan over at Metropolitan Health Group. A lot of news coming out of the SEC and the spring meetings over in Destin. As you can see, that you've got all of the power, really, in the league huddled around one ballroom inside of a Destin hotel. As it's beautiful weather down there on the Gulf Coast, but inside of the hotel, they are debating 8 and 9 game schedules within football. But one thing that is dominating the conversation and looks as if it's got people, including Greg Sankey, in a pretzel is NIL. NIL is really prevalent on the topics of discussion down in Destin as far as what's next. How do you govern this? What is going to happen here is you really starting to see state laws dictate and govern, college sports, college athletics. And it's got Greg Sankey handcuffed. It's got the competition up in arms because of, things that are really out of their control. And it's things that we can talk all about coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. So Lloyd is here. Stewie is here on this Wednesday morning. We will talk a lot about what's going on down at the league meetings in Destin as Brian Kelly sat alongside Paul Feinbaum yesterday and gave some of his thoughts. Scott Woodward gave some of his thoughts yesterday with Feinbaum. So you're really starting to see a lot of this stuff being talked about and discussed publicly. I would assume, and I would be very surprised if they do not make a decision on football scheduling by the end of the week. I think that we'll find out, what is going to be the outcome. And I really think it's going to be a 9-game conference schedule. I think you'll see 9 conference opponents with the expansion of Texas and Oklahoma coming in, with the television contracts, with the premium on Competition Weekly. I think you're going to see a 9-game schedule. And Scott Woodward was very, he's very confident in his support when he sat in with Feinbaum yesterday in talking about that. He believes that that's how it's going to shake out as well. He thinks that that'll probably, be the outcome here. And I think, somebody with Woodward's reputation inside the league and his relationship with Greg Sankey, for him to speak so confidently publicly like he was yesterday on the matter of, he fully supports the 9-game schedule. He gave points on why he did with the expansion of the playoff, and obviously the television and league contracts. And he really went to what Brian Kelly said. I mean, he said, his athletic director, or as an athletic director, he thought his football coach said it best was, he came to the league to play the power. He came to the league to play, to play the Giants, and he wants to play those guys, all of the league. So I anticipate that you see a 9-game schedule. One thing that they do not have an answer for, and is something that
Wait. Before you think you're going to go to a 9-game schedule for 2024, the first year with Oklahoma and Texas?
Yeah.
Because I think that there's an interesting point in this article that we were reading about earlier. For them to wait, it probably benefits the SEC more for them to actually play the 1 8-game season with Oklahoma and Texas, and you dangle the carrot with ESPN for one more game, right? And then that's how you could probably maximize the most profits you can make, which if you could get everybody on the same page, be like, look, boys, if we hold out for 2 more years, essentially, we'll be in the power seat again. We'll be able to bring in more money for each team in the SEC. I think that would be most prudent of Greg Sankey, but if they have to figure this thing out today, then I think they probably will go 9 games. But that feels like the best solution for them because you're bidding with nobody but yourself.
That's right. No, and I could see a scenario where that makes sense. I think ultimately they get to the 9 games, but I can see something where they
because that's playing ESPN like a fiddle.
They play wait and see. Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got all the power, you got the leverage. The SEC's got they've got what everybody wants. They've got the competition, they've got the name recognition, they've got the programs, the power, the coaches, the players. They've got what everybody's watching. In the SEC in college football, the majority of the fans. So I think
you're only adding more. You're spreading. I guess out west. It's almost this westward expansion where you're gridding more teams, and the more games that you have, you can kind of dominate the league that way. When you see every other conference is falling apart, while the SEC is getting stronger, it's going to become more of a national brand at some point. Where it's hell, I'll watch Oklahoma, Texas. It doesn't even feel like the SEC, but I watch the game every year.
Right. Well, the SEC is going to create a brand with this new television contract. This is the last year of the SEC and CBS partnership, where that's been a long-standing partnership. We've all formed a habit of waiting on that 2:30 SEC CBS Saturday game. That will now shift to ABC, and ESPN will now own those rights after this year. So, the SEC will start and begin to create a brand new brand with that contract. There are meetings happening right now with television executives and Southeastern Conference executives on what it's going to look like, what it's going to sound like, who's going to be the play-by-play, who's going to be the color commentator, who's going to work the sidelines, what's the intro music going to sound like. I think when you think of SEC and CBS, what's the first thing you think of? I think of the lead-in song to a Saturday kickoff of bright sunshine. If you're watching an away game, and you got your buddies and friends watching. Cooking, or you're there present, amongst 100,000 people, inside of a big atmosphere and a big game. That may not change, but the way that you view it and the way that you watch it and the way that you're able to, digest it is going to be different, with a new television carrier, as the dominant media partner. So, I think that's all things that things are they're planning for right now, and that are being discussed. And like we said yesterday, Texas and Oklahoma for the first time have a presence inside of that room. They don't have voting power. That'll begin in 2024 when it's official and they join the league on, I believe, July 1st of 2024. But they are there this season, just this week, during these summer sessions, during these spring sessions, just to see how business is conducted, see the talking, what's the points that matter, what is being discussed. So
are they allowed to give their opinion in there?
Oh, I'm sure they're. I don't know if they're speaking freely, but I'm sure that they are. Because
a lot of this is built around them, so I'd imagine it'd be very awkward if they weren't allowed to speak because they're not officially a member of the SEC. But if that's all you're talking about is me in the room, I'd like to say something. I feel like I could help. Like, because if you're with Oklahoma or you're with Texas and you're seeing how business is going to be done, I would imagine you at least want your voice heard.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of about you.
No, without question. I think, when you look at this partnership and what it will really kind of do for not only the league but for the carrier, this is going to be A-list programming. This is the premier flagship viewing of what you're tuning in. How do you think we're going to find ABC and ESPN's digital platforms? Through college football, right? You're going to find it because you're going to have to see it, and they're gonna lead you on a maze to get to a place to watch it, whether it's on an app or whether it's on a smart device, wherever it is. But all that stuff is changing, so it'll be interesting to see how this week they're talking about that stuff, and I think they feel comfortable with that stuff. I think they feel comfortable with the scheduling. I think they have, solutions and remedies that they're looking at that says, even like, Lloyd bringing up the point of, hey, let's play maybe a little wait and see on what we ultimately need to decide on and where we need to be to make sure that they're maximizing their bottom line and maximizing the exposure that they're getting every weekend. But one thing that seems to have the league, athletic directors, presidents, boosters, Greg Sankey, in just a twist is name, image, and likeness. And Ross Dellinger over at SI put out an article yesterday, a pretty extensive article discussing, where NIL is right now. And the NIL topic has been bungled so bad by the NCAA that now it is in a position where state governments have control on how business is going to be done around college athletics. And it's got Greg Sankey in a position that he's lost a lot of his power. He's got nothing that he can, rain down and say, this is how it's going to be in the league, because each state is operating differently. And now you've got an arms race that's changed from facilities into NIL programs and how you can perfect it. And it's gone so far to one athletics director telling Ross Dellinger anonymously, we're all money laundering. Let's be honest. That's what he told Dellinger. Let's be honest. We're all money laundering. It's nothing but a pay-for-play, stack the cabinet, stack the stash on how much money you can get so you can distribute it to these guys and pay them to play. Or in LSU's case, guys and ladies. Because LSU has become a power player within NIL and a model that people are looking at and trying to emulate. The test case right now is Texas A&M. Texas A&M and their 12th man foundation has created ultimately what LSU has done. We've seen the Bayou Traditions, the collective for LSU, and we've seen athletes promote that on social media, right? Like you may be flipping through you're scrolling through your timeline and you may see Mason Smith telling you about Bayou Traditions, or you may see Angel Reese telling you about Bayou Traditions, whoever it may be, right? They're getting paid NIL money to present that message. Well, who's paying them? Well, the LSU collective is. Where do they get that money from?
The commercials that they put out.
LSU people just donated to it. They're just paying them cash to promote that message. Well, how's that legal? I don't know if it is. They don't know if it is. But it is literally, and it's a term that we've heard, since the beginning, it's the Wild Wild West. And states, because Mark Emmert, his historical reference for the NCAA should be a deadbeat. I mean, the further you get away from Mark Emmert, what did he accomplish? What did he do? He left his job post in so much worse condition than he found it. And the NCAA has never been a model that you've looked at that says, hey, let's try to model and do what they're doing.
That's sustainable.
Right? I mean, never has that happened, but the problems that existed the day he left the office compared to the ones that he took on the day he started were exponentially different and layers of problems later. I mean, like layers of problems, like problems that he looked at, knew was coming, and just ran from. And now the power of college sports is within state government. You know, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether you agree, whether you disagree, that's where it is. And Louisiana has set themselves up to be very competitive within that space. They have NIL programs that, you know, you're allowed to pay high school athletes. You've got administrators that can talk directly with business owners and players. I mean, LSU and Louisiana are as competitive in this space as anybody. Like I said, they're a model, but everybody's looking at Texas and Texas A&M because A&M has been the first to create their 12th Man Foundation that now gives priority points or benefits to the boosters that donate to NIL, right? That's been the big rub. LSU's got TAF, LSU's got the Alumni Association, LSU's got different wings of fundraising efforts around campus where you really are hitting up the same people. You know, every time you pick up the phone, you may have one or two that's your person that you can call and you can get money from. But ultimately, when you got to spread your wings and you got to go out there and you got to raise money around LSU, the pool is, you know, I mean, it's
a select few.
I mean, it's pretty much the same people that you're dialing for. Right? I mean, you've got your North Louisiana, you've got your South Louisiana, you've got your Bayou guys, you got your everybody. You got your Gulf Coast people, you got your West Coast. I mean, that all have LSU love. Now, one thing that's put a little bit of new blood into it is Kim Mulkey coming over from Baylor, where she's opened it up, but you know, she's very secretive about how she operates. I mean, I don't think that people have real access to her money.
Kim's a one-off for Kim.
Right? But just to give you an idea, I mean, that's how this works, right? But when you're donating to TAF, when I give my check to TAF, they in return give me points. They give me priority points. They give me things that I can get benefit from. NIL for so long, people are saying, hey, we need your money. And you're saying in return, well, what do I get? And, you know, it's kind of been, well, you get this, that, and this. Well, what officially do I get? Can I write that off? Can I, you know, I mean, can I get a priority point where I can use that for tickets in other parts of the athletic building, right? And, you know, everybody, maybe, we're figuring it out. We'll let you know. We'll let you know. Texas A&M has put that in place. Texas A&M, you write them a check, and it can go to their 12th Man Foundation, which is an NIL wing of A&M athletics, but not connected to A&M athletics, which is very important. So they can operate kind of isolated and on their own. And once they receive the donation, they in return can give the booster, give the person who's pledging the funds perks. You can get priority points. It's a tax write-off. And you can also tell them where I want the money to go. You may not be a supporter of football and say, hey, I want all this money to go to women's basketball. Or you may not be a supporter of women's basketball and you say, hey, I want all this money to go to baseball. Or you may say, hey, there's a 5-star defensive end in Louisiana that this $20,000 I'm pledging towards him. All right, here's your priority points, and here's your information for your write-off. And the state around Texas, the state of Texas, has written their law around that NIL rule where the NCAA has no power to come in and enforce any type of penalty because the law is written that says that that's illegal. So Texas A&M, TCU, Texas Tech, they're all following state law when they go out there and they're operating their NIL fundraising efforts, NIL program under this law, and they are untouchable by the NCAA. And LSU has a comment in Ross Dellinger's article. An administrator from LSU from the collective says, if Texas A&M's untouched, we're all in. If nobody messes with Texas A&M, if the NCAA doesn't mess with Texas A&M, which they're not, then we're all in, LSU says, to Sports Illustrated, to Ross Dellinger. So they're looking at this model saying, hey, this is how you stay competitive within NIL. Meanwhile, over in Georgia, their collective group is tied directly to the athletic department. They've got the same employees. They've got the same people. They've got the same type of deal. So they're trying to find ways, but they don't have state law that's written like Texas where they can operate similarly to how A&M can and how Texas can. So now Kirby Smart and the president of Georgia and the athletics director at Georgia are calling the league office saying, how's that? How can they do that? And we can't. Well, their state law's written like that. Well, do something, Greg Sankey. I can't. I got no jurisdiction. I got no power. I can't run up in the state capitol and tell them to change their law. I can go up there and lobby, but I have to do that in 11 other states where the league has a footprint. It's a mess. NIL is a mess. The 8 and 9 game schedule is figured out. They got that. They got the votes. They know where it's going. They know how that thing's going to operate. They got the television contracts laid in. They know where the money's going to come from. The future looks bright. The NIL programs on college campuses within the league, you can see it by this article that Dellinger put out yesterday. Read it. It's at si.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Ross Dellinger. You can scoop it up. It is an extensive look at name, image, and likeness on college campuses in the SEC. There's an 11-state footprint in the league with 14 schools, 2 to be added next year in 2024, where everybody's operating differently. Nobody's operating under the same rules and jurisdiction. Nick Saban said yesterday on Paul Feinbaum, he endorses wholeheartedly a union, an NFL type of model where, hey, look, everybody gets this. You come to the league, you get $50,000 a head, whatever it is. Anything on top of that you make is your NIL deals. But as it operates right now, it's unsustainable, and it is a train wreck. I mean, it is a mess. Everybody from Greg Sankey to league presidents to football coaches to anybody who's around it says, I don't know. I mean, there's no clear cut. And this is on Mark Emmert and the NCAA. I'm telling you, history needs to write Emmert's epitaph as a bum, as a deadbeat. This guy took an organization that was at a crossroads. NCAA, I've hated him for forever, right? I mean, I've never had 1 ounce of respect for the NCAA ever. But at a time where Mark Emmert was the leader, there were so many opportunities for him to modify that model, and he just tucked and ran. He hid under the covers, hid under the bed, no comment, nothing. I mean, sitting in front of Congress, sitting in front of the Supreme Court, just getting dressed down will be the image of Mark Emmert and should be forever on this job. When you look 2 years later after he's gone, look at the mess that he has left behind. I mean, this thing is going to be a 5-year mess at the very least, where you got to get everybody on the same page. I mean, somebody from Greg Sankey's credentials, that when he speaks right now, there's a lot of people paying attention. I mean, the only other powerful person in sports that I can think of would be Roger Goodell compared to Sankey. I mean, Sankey is a powerful, powerful dude right now when it comes to sports. Not collegiate sports, sports. People are looking at him like, hey, man, you got a big old beast on your hands. What are you going to do? You got this huge television contract, and he's made a lot of good moves. A lot of the chess pieces and a lot of dominoes that he's touched have moved in the right direction where the league is a monster.
Yeah, he's claiming land.
Right? I mean, I'll take Texas. I'll take Oklahoma. Oh, will you? Yeah, I will. And he did. He, in NIL, you can see it in this article. He's like, man, I'm handcuffed. I don't know. If he's saying that publicly, behind closed doors, he's got to be punching air. I mean, like a guy that has, right now, he's got everything kind of at, the world is, college sports is kind of like, hey, I want this here, put this here. Let's change the scheduling format. Let's bring them in. Like, you got all this money flowing in from
Get rid
television.
of East and West.
Right. Like, I mean, like, blow the leagues up, blow rivalry games up. What about Auburn and I don't care about them. We got all types of money. Things are changing. The whole scale. What are you going to do about NIL?
It's a good question.
I mean, the record stops. Just like Texas and Louisiana are handling it like that. You know who's been doing it better than anybody for the longest time? Arkansas. Arkansas pays their guys, pays their athletes, females and male, appearance fees. Like, they'll send them to charity organizations, like to hospitals, to speaking engagements, to, go see a booster, to a luncheon, to whatever it may be, to represent their collective, and they grease them. They pay them. I mean, like, what if somebody would have told you that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago in sports, like, you'll be able to pay Harold Perkins showing up to your local school to shake hands and take pictures with the kids. He gets $500. He gets $1,000 to show up. Like, get the hell out of here. Like, no, I'm swear. Like, a booster can legally, like, give him a check that the booster can, like, pay, like, write off.
It's nonprofit.
But they can't do that everywhere. What do you mean? Well, it's
state law.
It's state law that they can do it here, but they can't do it in Mississippi, and they can't do it in Florida. I mean, like, it is a bungled mess. I mean, Mark Emmert should be paying leagues. I mean, the fact that guy got that he got compensated on the way out, that he got a severance plan. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, Emmert had two choices, right? To do everything or do nothing. He was in the middle of when the NCAA could have had the opportunity to step up and help reform and help change and help with name, image, and likeness and become like a guiding light for it. Or he said, I can do nothing and let them figure it out. And he took the latter, because it would have been so much work. I would imagine, if you're Mark Emmert, to be like, all right, I'm basically rewriting the Constitution of the NCAA. Do I really want to do that? Or I can get $20 million to walk away and just watch me lob this grenade and go out of the country, essentially, like, disappear. And I got paid to do it. Like, y'all figure all this out because it is such a mess. I don't think I'm the man to fix it. And why would I be involved if I don't have to be?
No, look, he bailed.
He bailed when it was the NCAA needed him the most.
He white flagged it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, he was like, look, I'm done.
I'm done.
I mean,
y'all figure
you're
this
gonna have to
shit
go in front
out.
of the Supreme Court. He was like,
Sweet.
I mean, do it. I don't care. I mean, I'll get dressed up for $2 million. I'll do it. I mean, just a walk. I mean, but, like, history books should tell Mark Emmert's story as just, I mean, he tucked and ran, man. This is going to be a 5-year ordeal before you have your arms fully around it. I don't even know what they're doing in the Big 12. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what's going on over there. I mean, they're adding Colorado. I know that's about to happen. So that's more money. What's more money mean? Right? I mean, more money means it for who? I mean, at some point, you got to look at all this money coming in, all this money that the television deals are distributing, and just saying, all right, look, man, you got enough money to pay everybody. Right? Like, I mean, like, let's sit down, bring some of the best financial advisors in the world in and say, look, here's the deal. You got, billions coming in over this amount of time. This amount of players are on campus. How does everybody get a fair, distribution of this?
Otherwise, it's going to continue to be chaos.
It's unsustainable.
And if you want, but in the world that we're in right now, and if you're an LSU fan, you like that. You like that it's set up like this. You have a distinct competitive advantage.
And I would say if you're LSU, you have a great seat at the table because you're so competitive at it. And you're so relevant at it, and there's so many people around it, or not say so many people. There's so many influential people around it that give a damn, that have stepped up and said, "Hey, we're doing this, and if it means putting up our own money to stay competitive and stay, in this space, then so be it." And lucky for LSU, they've also timed it right with bringing somebody like Kim Mulkey aboard where she has just exploited the whole model and said, so wait, what do? You just go out to the most popular kids and you get to get them money? Like, okay. I mean, she's got an endless supply of money and she can recruit with better than anybody in the country. I mean, you want Angel Reese? Come aboard. You want Anissa Morrow? Come on down. Haley Van Lith? She's on the board? We'll take her. I mean, like Michaela Williams too? She's the best player in the sport as a high schooler? Get her. I mean, it's like, what are you going to do with them? Pay them. I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, that's the model, right? So, I mean, LSU, people are looking at LSU like, damn.
They're doing it in every sport.
I mean, you got Paul Skeens on the mound in baseball. You got
Tommy White.
Angel Reese running up and down the floor in basketball. You got Harold Perkins out there in football. I mean, it's people are looking at LSU saying, what's the secret?
How'd they keep Garrett Nussmeier?
Exactly. And as we pointed out then, no coincidence when Nussmeier had announced, a day and a half later, 2 days later, he's sitting in Gordon's office, cutting a spot. I mean, it's just the world we live in now. A lot of people are uneasy about it. A lot of people feel grimy about it. I get it. But, people that are saying, we're not playing like that. Well, I mean, go back and read about Toys R Us in 2000. Toys R Us was they were in every shopping center in the country. I mean, they had spots in every small town in Louisiana. CEO said, we don't have to sell online. We don't need to adapt. We don't need an online presence. I don't even know if there's a Toys R Us in America anymore. I don't even think there's one. I mean, it's 23 years later. I mean, that's in the grand scope of it. It's not that long of a time for what. I mean, it was a monster.
And every building was a monolith.
But just won't adapt. No, not doing it. Doesn't make any sense for us. We're too big right now. Right. I mean,
kids love
20
toys.
years later, man, they don't exist.
Blockbuster.
So, I mean.
But like I said, if you're an LSU fan, this is the time for LSU to get real good because they're in one of the few states that has the ability to do it the quote-unquote fastest way or the way with the path of least resistance. So that's what I'm saying. Alabama's not in that position, and that's where you're seeing Nick Saban get involved, and that's why he's screaming for parity because he's the one on the outside looking in for the first time. I know that they find ways around it, but they're not set up state law-wise to be able to operate in the same lanes that you're seeing Texas and LSU operate.
Well, I mean, that was the reason for Saban's melt in the room last year. I mean, he knew that if he called Jimbo, he put more pressure on the lawmakers of Alabama and the boosters and the lobbyists than he did Jimbo. I mean, he could deal with. He'd been dealing with Jimbo for 25 years.
Right. This is expected.
Right. I mean, but he was speaking more to the lawmakers of, hey, you better catch me up. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm telling you what I want.
I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do.
Right.
I'm getting the 5 stars, but they're leaving here now because Jimbo's paying them. Because he legally can. You know, I mean, it was the beauty of the rant. You know what I mean? He flushed everybody.
Yeah, because I'm getting these are players I'm used to getting, and now I'm
Right,
not
like,
getting
I'm
him.
doing
Why
my
is
job,
that? Yeah,
you know?
I don't lose these recruiting battles, and I'm sure he was seeing probably some of the writing on the wall to where they weren't making it. It wasn't a secret as to why it was happening. It's like, coach, they're offering me this, and he's going, well, why the hell can't I do that? Law, and so he gets mad at everybody in the room except for anybody related to football. It became a political conversation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and look, in the grand scheme of it, he doesn't care about the basketball program. He doesn't care about the baseball. He doesn't care about women's basketball. He doesn't care about baseball, right? I mean, the only time he cares about those sports is if it ever affects him. I mean, if you read the recruiting story about Jameis Winston is from Alabama. I mean, like, the guy he was the number 1 pick. He won the Heisman Trophy. He took Florida State to a national championship. Whatever your opinion is of him, I get it. I have it. But, I mean, at the time, he was a player, right? And, I mean, never did anybody ever believe that he was going to leave Alabama to go to Florida State. But Jimbo knew the whole time he had the secret ingredient was the baseball program at Florida State was openly recruiting Jameis Winston with Jimbo and telling him, hey, man, look, you can come here and play baseball. Like, yeah, we don't care. I mean, like, you can do the whole thing, man. And Saban was like, yeah, I mean, I guess you could do the football, the baseball thing, man. I mean, but
I don't know who the
be
coach
the starting
is.
quarterback. He was like, okay, well, let's go see the facility. And they took him over to the baseball stadium. He was like, what is this? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, what is this? He's like, I mean, my high school plays at a better facility than this. He's like, what? Huh? He's like, yeah, man. I mean, I just left Florida State. Their facilities are better than this. I'm going over there. He's like, what? I mean, you just lost the number 1 quarterback in the country because of a baseball facility. I think a year later, Alabama got a brand new baseball stadium. I mean, Saban was like, what? Build him a baseball stadium, man.
And Florida State, who was not revered for their athletic conditions, that's half the reason Jimbo left, is he couldn't get any financial support. So if your baseball field's better than what Alabama was trotting out, because it feels like Saban probably didn't walk over there all that often. He's like,
no.
Oh, wait, what the hell? Here, cut you off a piece of the pie. Like, okay, that's never happening again.
I mean, geez, our guy's he's shading runs.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he's
Skip-
on the books.
Skip of the 90s.
You're
going to have to build that fence.
So the Ross Dellinger article is eye-opening, man. I mean, they are in a pretzel, man. They are in a pretzel of just how this thing is going to operate, because it's now state laws. I mean, you're now dealing with 11. You could be dealing with 11 different rules.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ultimately, if now, I mean, hopefully, as Louisiana said, in following Texas's model, if they skate, we're all in. I think everybody would look at that and say, hey, look, if it's working for them, I don't know why you would change change the model, but it's just a mess. It is a mess, man, of how you are going to work yourself out of it, and how you're going to govern it. I really think it's a 3 to 5 year issue that you're looking at.
And you say 3 to 5 years, with that amount of time, it's going to be so far gone where there's going to be states that are working fast enough to be able to get the law changed in that amount of time. And now, once the states that do decide to do that, it's going to become even harder to change the rule, because now you have 8 teams doing it instead of 3. Right. And it's like, well, no, this is the way. You go with it or get lost. And because there's no governing body to tell them how to live their, how this could be related to a school issue, and now it's a state issue. So now you've lost the ability to govern it through athletics.
Just go to SI.com. I know that we read a lot about it, but if you go to SI.com, you'll see Ross Dellinger's latest.
Yeah, 'cause they talk to everybody.
And he does. He goes. He talks to. I mean, he talks about Missouri's plan. He talks about LSU, about Texas A&M, Arkansas. I mean, it is.
Florida is in there a ton.
It is extensive, and it gives you just the different views and the different feelings on what NIL is. I mean, and where it's going, the feelings about it. I mean, it's, whew. I do not envy anyone who is in a position of decision making or power that has to oversee that, because it is just it's tough to fathom how much work there is around it. I mean, it feels like once you close off one conversation, you just opened up another of what if, But I do believe at some point you get to a unionized agreement where, look, if you go play in the SEC, you're getting this. No matter what school you go to, you're getting this per head. After that, if you want to negotiate, Angel Reese getting the Mercedes-Benz deal or, whatever that may be, that's kind of on you. I mean, if you can get that, then go ahead. But as far as like you coming in and,
needs to be a salary cap.
It does.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. We went from what's NIL to like we need to cap it.
That role is really going to become like a legitimate general manager. Like someone who has to
manage the cap,
watch the books. Really just kind of watch what's happening. Remember our friends over at Katie's in Mid-City down in New Orleans. Katie's is a great restaurant over in Iberville Street. I was in New Orleans this week, and I was back and forth to Mandeville to New Orleans, and I was walking around the quarter on it was Sunday. It felt like Saturday, but it was Sunday. And I was sitting at the bar at Mr. B's, which is locally right there in the quarter. I think it's on Charter Street. And I was sitting there, and two tourists came and sat down right next to me at the bar, and we just kind of started small talk. Just kind of, hey, where are you from? And they were from San Diego and said they were in town for a music festival, and they were taking the summer just to kind of travel around the South, and they were spending 2 weeks in New Orleans, and said they had just gotten back from grabbing something to eat, and they wanted to come for a post-lunch, kind of a afternoon lunch drink. And they sat down, and I said, where'd y'all go? And they said, we went to this place called Katie's on Iberville Street. I said, get out of here. And they were like, no, we just asked our concierge where we should go, and they gave us a list, a couple of lists, and we just picked Katie's because we thought it was in a good spot. We loved the area. We went and sat down, and I said, so tell me what you think about it. And I didn't tell her anything of our partnership or anything. Because we kind of acting like a curious local. I said, well, what'd you think about the place? And she said they had the nicest wait staff I've ever been around. She said, we do a lot of traveling now, and, it's something that we take into account. We really like to leave reviews, she said, where we go. We really like to, kind of leave our opinions wherever we are. And she said, I'm telling you, she said, Katie's restaurant had the most friendliest service we have ever been to. She said, we stayed after our meal for 45 minutes just to talk to the service people and people watch. She said it was packed. The service was great. This is coming from a neutral party, right? Like they just come in from San Diego, just to give you an idea. This is why I'm giving you their account of it. And afterwards, I told her just kind of like what we do, and they're in a partner, and it was incredible just to kind of hear that from someone in that situation that had no idea, and they talked about everything we tell you every single day about Katie's. Friendly service, great staff, great menu, so much to choose from. It felt like New Orleans. She said they had been there for about 3 days, and she said, it really kind of felt like the city. I said that's how I, describe it. It feels like New Orleans. She said it's a great way to say it because, the people that walk in, everybody, how they talk to you, how they treat you. Go see our friends over at Katie's, katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com. Been around since 1984. Great menu to choose from, including St. Louis-style pizza. katiesinmidcity.com. You can find them online. We'll be back, close out hour one. Jacques will be here at 8:15. More of the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders.
Might catch Gaffy Daddy in there.
Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha,
Malik Neighbors,
Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
All right, welcome back here to a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, built by our friends over at RMB Builders. Get in touch with Rhett and the crew over at RMB by logging online or just hitting them up on Instagram. We got some cool stuff coming up that we'll be telling you about and hopefully showing you pretty soon here. Getting some approval today from our boy David Semino, who's the head football coach over at Central High School. Going to send him the first episode of our documenting spring football with the Wildcats. Of course, Darren DeQuano, our famed videographer over at WAFB, who's helped us out on a lot of these projects, has been fantastic, but has really just jumped in to Central football over the last month, and we're going to cut it up and do a little 4-part doc series that will air here on the Jordy Culotta Show, will air on WAFB's YouTube, and we'll also do it on Central Football or Central high school's YouTube page as well. So really looking
Legacy
forward
Part
to
2?
it. A little bit, yeah. Kind of following that same
model.
right? A little bit of a different storyline because it's more zoned in on one school rather than Dawn of the Legacy was focused on both Zachary and Woodlawn. But thank you to the officials out in Central, including our friend Jason Fountain and the principal, Brandon LeGroux, head coach David Semino, and athletic director, including the entire staff. Their offensive coordinator's name is Zach Morris. None of the kids know kind of the relation to Zach Morris. Do y'all have do y'all know what Zach Morris? Did y'all not watch Saved by the Bell?
That's what I was thinking, but I was not a Saved by the Bell kid. Everybody makes fun of me for this.
I didn't I watched it a little bit.
By that time, I was already on to it was Linda Cohn.
Right, I got you.
So my mother was very concerned.
No, it doesn't hit like it
no
used
Saved
to.
by the Bell and no.
There was
cartoons.
DeQuano's. I think he's. I don't want to give his age away. He's around my age. And then we have a manager on the account, Laura, who has. She's around our age as well. And when Zach sat down, and we were like, "What's your name?" And he was like, "Zach Morris." We were like,
"Does he know?"
We're like, "For real?" And he was like, "I hear it all the time."
Did y'all flip the chair around and did it with an AC Slater?
I hear it all the time. I mean, don't hit me with a weird Saved by the Bell joke, bro. I mean, I hear him all the time, and I'm like, all right. Sorry, Zach. You got the cell phone though?
Who played him? Yeah.
Is Jesse here?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's Kelly? Where's Kelly Kapowski?
Right. All timer.
Still
might be a 1 seed.
Still an all timer.
Like might be 1-1.
I don't know if she is. I don't think she is. She's definitely a 1 seed.
It's either her or Sloan from Ferris Bueller. No, just taking older Sloan.
Sloan was
She was always getting in trouble with
She
was wrapped up.
Right.
Couldn't get rid of Ferris.
Skip school.
Yeah, he's kind of fun. Right. We're no Ferrari right now. Abe Froman.
Hey Cameron, how are you?
I'm not coming out my house, Ferris.
It's so funny. Are you watching Succession?
I haven't gotten into it yet.
I'm not all the way through it.
I'm usually I'll hit it like a year.
Well, you need to watch out because the spoilers are. It just ended the finale, the series finale.
I don't pay that much attention.
Yeah, it won't be that big a deal. But I was just saying, Cameron he's one of the brothers in the show.
Yeah. No, I have seen the first season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we're probably in the same spot. I just started season 2, but every time I see him, I'm just like, I can't think of anything else. And he's still like the same person.
He is. He looks the same.
He looks the same.
I mean, another great testament to being rich. He hasn't aged today. He comes from the Tom Cruise era. Where he's on Tom Cruise's medicine.
It seems but he's not trying to do anything actiony. He just looks young.
No. Yeah, I'm just talking about how he's kept his youth.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're doing something.
Or he could just age gracefully.
He could.
But when you see him you see who played Ferris?
Matthew
Broderick.
Broderick.
Yeah, so that's where you can see the comparison of why he's probably on something.
Ferris.
Cam looks good.
Yeah, Cam looks great.
He looks so rich in that show too. Big, what's the half vest?
Oh yeah.
That just screams money.
It does.
When you're Colorado, long sleeve shirt underneath and the little zip up vest, you're just like, what do you do?
Yeah, right.
What do you do?
Finance.
What's Dad do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't really worked in a minute.
Rides up on a horse.
Yeah.
Look at this guy.
Where's the chopper?
It's coming in. Mm-hmm. The Wonder Year girl was great too.
Oh, Wendy Peppercorn?
Was it Wendy?
No, it was Wendy, but Wendy Peppercorn is
Wendy.
Sandlab, but her name is also Wendy.
It was Wendy.
Yeah, that was a big crush for me too. Nice, good taste.
It was a great pull. Jeff and Kenner came that one.
Nice.
All right, we're going to talk to Jacques coming up here in the 8 o'clock hour.
Speaking of aging gracefully, Al Pacino's having a kid.
What's going on, man?
82 with a 29-year-old.
That a boy.
Kids.
Him and Pacino and...
Don't tell me Jack.
No, not Jack. I mean...
De Niro.
Yeah,
I think I'm almost positive both of them.
Oh, Robert De Niro got somebody pregnant too. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I would have thought that these guys would have had snipped.
Coach, I guess not.
I mean,
or
if they're still slinging it at 80...
Yeah, I don't want to.
You know what I mean? What do you think they were like between 40 and 70?
Some of them run around, they don't even know
they're probably like, hey, I probably snip this thing. You know what I mean?
Okay, he's 29. He's De Niro's 79, and
But at some point, you got to think that
Al Pacino's 83.
at some point it just is like dust that
I mean,
comes
that's De
out.
Niro's 7th kid, though.
Oh, he wants them.
Yeah, he's
leaving a legacy.
83 years old.
Yes.
And still pumping.
Still
De
doing
Niro
his-
looks good though. He's got a little thick, but he
Pacino looks like he's not.
But Al Pacino's looked like that forever.
Yeah.
He has aged gracefully somehow because he's always looked old.
He does, yeah, right.
He looks the same in
He looks the same on any given Sunday
that he does today.
He does now.
You gotta fight for that inch. That's she fought for that inch.
Like Scarface was his young days.
Yes.
And then like after that, it was just
It's just
straight
like,
to,
this is
He
what
just
Al
got
looks
old.
like.
straight to like
He
goatee.
just got old. I mean, like right after Scarface, I'm sure just all the blow just
Yeah,
aged
cocaine's
him.
a hell of a drug.
I mean, he just did blow for however long they shot it for.
Goatee and spotty gray
Yeah.
hair. Like
I'm a method actor.
Yeah, right. I'll be in my trailer.
Can I actually get in that bathtub? Off hour.
Give me the machine gun again.
Yeah. One more take. Oh.
I mean, 83 years old.
83 coaches. Like that's.
So I'm saying it feels like you'd be
83.
pumping dust.
No, he's pumping.
What
Kids
is
into
the
this world.
29-year-old doing?
Well,
I mean, I get it.
Yeah,
But I mean,
we all know what's going on there.
do you think she's an actress?
somebody's acting. I mean, like, ain't no way it feels that good, honey.
I'm just saying I'm trying to get a role. Oh, and she's connected to Mick Jagger.
Wow, so she plays the game.
She's playing the game. She's gonna be out the game for about 9 months.
Golly. So she's got a kid with Mick Jagger?
I think they've just been rumored to be together.
Okay.
But I guess like
What a circle.
these relationships always blow my mind. Does she just like leave? Like, good night, honey, because he's obviously like puttering around at like 6 p.m. Her night's just getting going. Like, I'm 29, I have friends. I clearly had does he just take the car?
Give me my medicine.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you're gone again.
Just,
Like, she's not hanging out and living the life of Al Pacino. She's not hanging out and being 80.
Come home at 6 a.m. He's
Right.
outside, like, sitting on the front lawn.
Yeah, just in his robe still.
where you been?
Ew, what's going on?
You gotta fight for that inch. just doing old movies.
Sitting in his,
Say hello to my little friends.
sitting in his office like Scarface.
Who's the bad guy?
I mean, 83.
Jeez.
That is.
I mean, I guess I
Oh, it is.
JD.
guess I hope I'm
Speaking
still
of
pumping
dust.
it at 83, but jeez.
Yeah.
Like, I hope I'm not pumping out kids at 83.
Coach.
If I am,
83.
somebody stop me.
Ooh.
Like,
Oh.
Who takes care of it?
Pacino. Both of them. I mean, like, both of them would be going to be, like, at the hospital together.
They're
Kids are going to be born
They're
together.
going to be best friends.
What brings you here, Bob?
Yeah. Same thing. They might have been together.
I mean,
Yeah. They might have been switching.
Jacques, next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B.
I guess acting is in good hands. Just have to wait a minute.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Don't let the name fool you. Men's Total Health has offerings for the ladies, too. Guys, is your wife or partner suffering from urinary incontinence, low sexual desire, or pain during sex? Then the O shot might be for her. Don't let it scare you. It's totally natural. It's PRP, and Mike Roach and the crew at Men's Total Health will make you as comfortable as you can be. Contact me for more information, Katie at JordyCulottaShow.com, and I'm happy to tell you everything that Men's Total Health has to offer for the ladies.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
All right, welcome back. Wednesday edition Jordy Culotta Show. Jacques in here every Wednesday, just like he is. Our partners over at WAFB. Summertime here, which means red, rock, and blue on your calendar. Get ready, everyone. We'll tell you how you can. RedRockandBlue.com. All the information over there. Looking forward to a great summer as Jacques is here with us on a Wednesday morning. JD, good to see you. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I looked it up today. You know, the official first day of summer is not till June 21st. I think we need to change that in Louisiana. So.
They call it the spring meetings over in Destin.
Yeah, right.
Sitting over there like Speedos and sunglasses.
But it's not summer yet.
And the first day of LSU football practice is fall.
Yeah, right.
You know, when it's 95 and feels like death.
100% humidity.
Not summer yet.
JD, good to see you as always. Summertime here. We'll get to Red, Rock, and Blue as everybody knows that summer means that it's coming up. But LSU baseball heading towards a regional this weekend, hosting for the first time since 2019. You've seen them on a lot of the back half of this run. You've been a part of it. You were down in Hoover. What do you feel like this team where they are kind of going into postseason play?
Well, you've played almost 60 games, and you've played those 60 games to set yourself up as a national seed in the tournament to host playoff baseball at Auerbach Stadium until Omaha. But really, as we all know, this point forward defines the season as we turn the calendar to June tomorrow. Did you go to Omaha or not? Did you win a national championship or not? And so, just like LSU women's basketball, you hope that there are heroes that emerge. You hope you get some good fortune along the way, and you hope it all falls into place. Certainly, I don't know if I've ever seen a story like Tulane. People can bring up Ole Miss last year and say they got hot. I looked it up. Ole Miss was 32-22 going into the NCAA tournament. I mean, they were 10 games over 500. I don't think I've ever seen a team that's lost twice as many as they've won get into the tournament like Tulane has. Looks like they're going to pitch a kid that went to U-High, Dylan Carmouche, a left-hander. And I think their leading hitter, is it Brady Hebert? Did I get that right? He went to Catholic High. He's batting about 300. There's nothing on paper about these guys that really pops in terms of pitching or hitting, but they have gotten hot, and they've got nothing to lose. And certainly there's some crazy things that can happen in these game ones. I had to look it up. I mean, I was there and couldn't even remember the name of the team. Do you remember the name of the team LSU played last year in Hattiesburg? First game out of the box NCAA tournament last year.
Was it Army?
Kennesaw State.
Stewie's got it.
Stewie.
Kennesaw State.
What a pull.
I tweeted it earlier. Did you cheat?
Yeah.
I didn't. I really didn't cheat. I just remember that.
Damn.
Because they had the
great pull.
Okay.
So LSU
Welcome to the party, Stewart.
God.
Kid graduate.
LSU was losing to Kennesaw State last year, 11-4, going into the bottom of the 7th, 8th. It scored 10 runs in the inning to beat them 14-11.
It was the 8th, coach.
Yeah, where is Kennesaw State? I knew it last year. I don't know it
Georgia.
now. Georgia. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What else do you know about Kennesaw State?
I'm going to leave now, and Stewie will host the rest.
Thank you, Jacques.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Tee up Stewie.
But so anyway, yeah. So they won that first game, and then they beat Southern Miss. They were down 6-2 and scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th, and then they lost the next 2. Anyway, I'm just saying these first games are crazy. Even the 2009 national championship team, Southern, the Jags, threw a guy named Chase Richard, who had LSU scoreless into the bottom of the 6th. LSU, the national championship team, was losing to Southern in game 1, 2-0. They blew it open and won 10-2. So Coach Maneri can tell you probably pitch for pitch everything about that game. So LSU should win. Oregon State, it's that old, like in music, they talk about brand versus band. You can put the logo up and, that's that band, but then they've changed all their members and, I think I'm going to go see such and such, and it's not them. But Oregon State, I think they're the only program that's won 3 national championships since 2006. I mean, so they've got the, name recognition, but nothing really about them. I mean, they're a great team, and I wouldn't relax playing Oregon State, but LSU should win this regional with their fans and the heat and all those things.
They got a good draw. I mean, first thing that you notice, you're like, this is a good draw for a team that, it feels like they were leaking a little oil coming in.
They're 5-7 in their last 12 games against SEC competition, and so that is not red hot going into the tournament. Now, you're not going to play an SEC team this weekend. You may play Kentucky next weekend, which Kentucky, I'd rather play them than Arkansas or, some of those teams in a super regional. So, you went to Hoover last week. You already had the hay in the barn in terms of being a super regional host. You got another win against South Carolina. Some bad luck against Arkansas with the Alex Milazzo catcher interference that, spun the game off course. And then, when you're playing Texas A&M, I mean, you never play to lose a game, but did Jay Johnson just say, okay, I'm going to give Sam Dutton another chance. If this works out, great. If it's not, we go home and start getting ready for the NCAA tournament. Because if LSU even beats A&M, who are they going to pitch the next day? I mean, they trotting Blake Money out there or what? And so, it's going to be very fascinating to watch. I mean, I think this thing could go like this, and hopefully it doesn't go like this in terms of, what happens.
You were down at the league tournament last week, and you look up, and there's 8 national seeds. There's 10 teams in. Tennessee and Texas A&M, both 2 seeds. As they're the other 2 squads. What'd you make of the competition down there in Hoover?
Well, I agree.
Up close.
I mean, it obviously is not the magnitude, and it's not remembered like the World Series is. But, I mean, I hear people like Doug Thompson on your show, say it's harder to win than Omaha. And I may not disagree with that when you talk about the amount of pitching you may need if you fall into a loser's bracket and the competition. I think it's a great event, in today's Twitter reactionary world, the second it rains, people are like, move that SEC tournament, we got to go to another city or whatever. I don't want to see the SEC tournament in a stadium with a roof. I think they've got a great atmosphere there. I mean, on I think it was Friday I was there. You didn't have Ole Miss there. You didn't have Mississippi State, who are typically 2 of your biggest fan bases that travel. They had 15,000 people there. I mean, it is supported. It's run well. And I've got some great memories over the year of covering. That's where the Todd Peterson thing took place.
That's right, yeah.
Where he went up to bat. I will never forget that. I mean, the odds of a pitcher, who has never swung a bat in a competitive college game, being handed a bat and smoking a pitch off the wall. He almost hit a homer.
It looked like it. It sounded like it was gone.
The thing was, I mean, it was a perfect swing.
Off
That's
the top
what,
of
it looks like he'd done it before.
Right. And the fact, and even after the game and in the excitement of all this, I felt real uncomfortable when Todd Peterson announced at a press conference to Paul Mainieri that he had lied to him.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, I got to be honest, Coach. I never batted in.
What?
Are you serious? I was like, oh, man, don't lie to Coach Mainieri.
Right. So you lied?
You didn't even hit in the games?
And I remember the next day when LSU came to the park, all these kids that had Alabama stuff on, or Auburn or Florida, going up to Todd Peterson to get his autograph. Man, he was freaking Mickey Mantle the next day.
That's so cool.
Well, not only with the kids, with the media, everybody wanted to talk to him. He was the toast of the town, right? And he showed off his personality a little bit, so he became like a pseudo superstar for 48 hours.
He was, yeah. And so I remember that. I remember the 2008 team, but I remember that team that won 23 games through the heart of the schedule and made it to Omaha. But I remember Buzzy and them. That was the power of the gold that year. And they were all wearing those gold jerseys. And they used to watch these highlight tapes on the bus. And there was the music video, Kenny Rogers, When You Put Your Heart Into It. And they would always watch that. And so I handed the mic to Buzzy. It was Buzzy. It was Chris McGee, Nick Pontiff, Michael Hollander, and they all sung the song together. And it was like, Buzzy goes, suddenly it happened. And then the other guys like, suddenly, we keep on believing. And so they sang this song, and then it was great. Those are the kind of things you get to cover in baseball, typically. And then Paul Mainieri afterwards, I said, Coach, do you hear that? He goes, well, the effort was really good, but the result wasn't. So those are the kind of things I remember about the SEC tournament. They were down 4-0 to South Carolina, bottom of the ninth, and then they come back and score 4. DJ LeMahieu hit this high fly ball to left, and then the wind took it. I think the left fielder thought it was going foul, and it dropped, and then these runs scored, and Blake Dean, lefty, over the wall. So, it's a fun event. It's a great event. That's a long answer to what you asked me.
It's a great answer. Have you kept up with anything coming out of Destin?
So they're debating 8 or 9 SEC games,
which I think they already know. It kind of sounds like
they're going 8.
I think they're going to go 9. I think what Lloyd said is probably going to be. They said that they're probably going to sit on 8 for a year, see what the television deal, the 12-team playoff, and then I think ultimately they go to 9. I think.
Well, what I think is funny is Saban used to say we need 9, and now he doesn't want 9. Maybe because he saw he doesn't like being paired with. LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn. I mean, Auburn, you've got to be paired with Auburn, obviously.
And, I mean, Tennessee, too. I mean, I would argue to him, what do you want, man? What did you expect?
Well, he always said it's a great rivalry, and when you kick in their ass every year, for the better part of 2 decades, right?
Exactly. I mean, now you look up, and LSU's got a coach, and Heupel looks like he might be for real, and he's like, well, this may not be fun the last 5 years I'm here.
The one thing to me, Jordy, So, okay, I'm not very smart, but you're adding 2 teams to the league. You've got 16 teams now. And even if you play 9 conference games, how are you deciding the 2 teams that are going?
Isn't it the same thing you've been doing? I mean, you're adding 2. You're playing an 8 where you play the 2 permanent. It's like I'm just adding 9, and now I have 3 permanents.
Yeah.
And it's like.
Well, what if I've got 2 losses and I say, hey, man, I had to play Alabama and Georgia, and you had to play Missouri and Vanderbilt or whatever. So, I mean, the divisions are going away. So it's just 16 teams, and the top 2 are going to go. And so I guess you're right, too.
If you already have the argument of how the schedule rotates with your SEC West or East opponent that people are on a tizzy about. So now if you add 3 permanent opponents to where you can bitch about that every single time, that's it's going to almost make it worse in a sense of how you get paired up with and who you get paired up with and who's hot at the right time. Because if you get Alabama, obviously if you're LSU, they're going to be good. And now Nick Saban is in this arena where, now I have to play LSU 3 times, or I have to play Tennessee, where it's the league is finding a little bit of balance of power, at least for those opponents.
Yeah.
It's Georgia that's been able to cakewalk through this whole thing.
I think from the LSU fans' perspective, are tired of going to Starkville and Oxford every other year. You know, mix it up. Athens is supposed to be the best road trip in the SEC. We hadn't been there since 2013.
Right. South Carolina's a cool trip.
South Carolina. Lexington, and we just went there in 2021, and that was the first trip there since.
Yeah, it was a long.
Not the Bluegrass Miracle,
No.
but
It was
somewhere along the way.
I think it was like 07.
It was 07.
The triple
07.
overtime
It was
loss.
07.
Yeah.
Stewie.
This guy here. I mean, he's not Stump Steinley, but.
Good Lord. Stump Steinley with a pull. David.
Real quick.
David Stump Steinley. What a shout out there. And a shout out to Jimmy Ott because I know him and Hannah back in the noon hour.
That's right.
Back in the lunch spot.
Live at lunch.
And that's
They just rebranded.
That's where Steinley went. Yeah, they just rebranded it. Just a little 5-year detour.
We're right back to sports today.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of Steinley, so I thought
Stump Steinley.
Stump Steinley. I thought of Smoke Lavelle twice this week. So Smoke Lavelle was at LSU Baseball Media Day. It's one of his first years as being the head coach. Yes to know. Look, Smoke Lavelle forgot more baseball than we ever know.
Oh,
okay,
he's right.
He's one of the biggest. I mean, he's a huge part. He did that with his fingers.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. He used to reference Freddie Krueger a lot. Like if they were going up against a pitcher who was, oh, this guy's Freddie Krueger, man. Scary.
See me in your sleep.
But LSU Baseball Media Day, Smoke's up there and he goes, I mean, does anybody even remember who came in second last year and didn't win the national title? And Steinley, Georgia Tech! Just pops it all. He's like, this guy here, I mean, he can tell you the dimensions of the park and he can tell you everything. You know? And so
I think Steinley named the umpires on Nolan Ryan's first no-hitter. Like,
it's like crazy,
crazy stuff, dude. Jimmy Ott used to put him on the radio, and people would be like, just mind blown. I mean, like, mind blown.
Steinley used to do those live things. I mean, Ott used to do those live things at the Varsity and the Chimes, and Steinley would chime in. And folks, please don't forget about the brunch on Sunday. like almost he was mad at him, you know, like shouting at him, you know, get your ass over here. But so when Coach Johnson, when Jay Johnson closed practice this week, which I'm not complaining about, that's fine, but I can't remember that ever happening. A baseball practice closed to the media. But I remember years back being at practice and Smoke comes up to me and goes, hey, Jacques, stay at practice as long as you want, okay? We're not going to run a double reverse on the opening kickoff, all right? You know, this ain't football. We ain't paranoid about everything, you know? So.
Tell DiNardo to chill out. Who was it? Was it Les?
That was 2000. That was Saban, probably. That was early 2000s because Smoke was.
I guess it was 03, 04.
Yeah, 2002 to 5?
Yeah, so it was
6?
It was Saban.
Yeah, that was Saban. What's that song? Paranoia, paranoia, everybody's out to get me. Yeah. I ain't sick, but I ain't well, whatever.
What are they going to do in this NIL stuff, dude? Have you read? Have you kept up with this? I mean, like, I think they know what the solution's going to be on the 8-9 game schedule. They're all kind of secure that they got a lot of money coming their way from the network. But the NIL stuff, when you read Dellinger's article, I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but he just looks at almost every city in town and how they're functioning. And Sankey is like, it's a mess. It's all now state governed, right? I mean, the NCAA never stepped up and tried to write any rules or anything around it. So I mean, really and truly, it is the wild, wild west.
I caught Sankey. I was driving around and the SEC championship baseball, it was on the radio Sunday, and they had Sankey in the booth to do a live interview. And I think the quote he said was, we cannot continue on a state-to-state basis on the NIL.
It's unsustainable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like
when the rules are different in this state than that state, and I think when we both talked to Brian Kelly, I think he said his biggest problem with the transfer portal were inducements, NIL inducements to go to other schools in the portal was the biggest, and it's not supposed to be pay per play,
right?
But it is, and who's watching it?
There's a quote in Dellinger's article where an anonymous AD tells Dellinger, all we're doing is money laundering. You know, it's just
They're washing their money, with their own laundromat that they just built.
You know, I mean, we're just taking our money from our donors.
What was Ozark? We had a casino. We had a funeral home. We had a. And sometimes I think about it. I think about some of these players that came here, and I heard about NIL money, and I thought to myself, well, what have they done? And I said, well, okay, I've seen Tommy White on a Raising Cane's billboard. I've seen him there, and some other, some other things like that. But and there's the old saying too. I heard somebody say, when you buy players, they own you too, right? And what is to be said about team chemistry and team camaraderie, and they're professional athletes right now. Would you say they're no longer an amateur athlete at LSU, kind of to an extent?
I mean, I would think that the definition of an amateur athlete would be unpaid, right? I mean, that's the amateur status, right? I mean, once you start receiving a payment, to me that it changes the whole just viewpoint. It doesn't cloud it. It just changes the viewpoint of it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't look at you I don't feel as guilty. Now, they're still 18 to 21. So, your criticism from this standpoint is a little different, but it does open them up to a little bit more
criticism.
Yeah. I think, and it's not like you isolate and bring down on it, but I mean, it's like, hey,
Anytime I've covered a game at LSU or in recent years, if somebody makes a mistake, fumbles, misses a field goal, nobody feels worse about it than that person.
Sure.
And you don't want to jump anybody.
Right.
Typically, when LSU loses, most of my questions and most of the post-game sound I'm going to use is from the paid professional, the head coach. But at this point, and I feel that too. I mean, that loosey-goosey, that Buzzy Heidel singing and all that stuff I talked about, that is going away. I mean, the whole vibe, there is a pressure to perform. It's always been there, but now it is on another level.
Well, and you specifically, when you look at the model that LSU has embraced, LSU is the big bad wolf right now, where you look at the women's program, everybody wants to go there. The baseball program last summer, I thought, had the reputation where you're like, damn, they got Tommy White, they got Paul Skeens, they got everybody just kind of melted. The football program looks like a lot of people want to be here. So when you start bringing that attention, that mark really becomes highlighted. Can you imagine what LSU women basketball is going to bring on the road next year when they show up? Like what people are going to people are going to want to take pictures with them before and after the game, but during the game, they're going to if they are close to beating them, what that's going to be, the top's going to pop off the arena.
They may win every game, I don't know, but if LSU's on the road and they have a bad night and they lose,
it's going to be
15,000 people doing this to Angel Reese.
No doubt.
And in baseball, they launched their LSU goal thing. It's called the Powerhouse, right? That's taken a pretty big step out there, and rightfully so. Embrace your greatness, but now it's living up to it also. So, the innocence is
exactly.
The end of the innocence,
right.
is Don Henley once saying,
right.
Lloyd. But
my son is like 12 years old, and that's kind of like the peak of fandom, right? Where you're like, these guys still have superpowers. These people that I'm watching are almost super powerful.
Yeah.
But
the movies you watched at that age, Hoosiers and that, those are all still in your...
Yeah. I can tell by the way that he talks about certain athletes. I remember that time in my life where it was like these people, but now he's also kind of realizing for the first time that they're human, and I wonder what it's going to be like for that relationship between the fan and the player, because I think you and I are drawn to one another because we were on a very similar, young
timeline.
Timeline when we were kids. Tommy Hodson was our idol, right? Like Harvey Williams to me was like I had
Chris
to meet
Jackson.
this guy, Chris Jackson, Shaq. All these people were, and I don't know if that exists anymore. I don't know if that relationship of how I'm a Baton Rouge, South Louisiana kid looking at Harold Perkins or looking at, right, give me Angel Reese, give me the biggest superstar on campus. I mean, I remember when I would see Shaq walking around campus, man. I mean, it was
a mythical figure.
You stop. You just stop. I mean, it was like,
yeah.
I mean, it was.
Well, two guys that grew up loving LSU sports more than anybody, who were offered scholarships to come in, who were here, were Jack Besh and Walker Howard.
Good point.
And both of those guys are no longer here after a short period of time. Not criticizing either of them. It's just speaking to what you're talking about.
Of it, when, the dream versus the reality.
Yeah, and both of which you probably felt the same way that, we did in high school, where the LSU was the lure. That's the only place, if I get the scholarship, that's where I was always only going to go. And now you see how the transfer portal can take that Louisiana homegrown kid, good old boy story away almost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie Rudy was made at Notre Dame. It could have been made here. Mm-hmm. I would do anything to run out of Tiger Stadium tunnel. I would make myself a body bag at practice and get thrown all over the place just if I run out of tunnel one time. Right. And so now, I mean, I think I had this conversation with Chris Blair before the game the other day, and he's like, they're going to where they get the most money and the most opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, it's free agency. I mean, really, if there's any comparison of a model to it, that would have to be it. I mean, it's recruiting with money.
Yeah.
Free agency. Right. That's what you talk to a lot of pros, and they're like, when I was a free agent, it felt like I was recruiting again. It felt like I was back being recruited.
And when you talk about the current LSU baseball team, is it a storyline to also say how much money is invested in this team? In terms of NIL money and so forth. Now, look, I think baseball still is the most reach out and touch them sport that, I mean, they still sign autographs before the game and after the game. And after the games, there's still tons of kids waiting to get autographs. And
we're on the field.
Yeah. JJ. Good one. Yeah. And Jay Johnson does a good job. I see him signing autographs as well. I talked to Dylan Cruz's parents and shot an interview with them in Hoover, and they talk about that and how Dylan is so great with that. But then there's the guy that shows up with the wheelbarrow and wants you to sign a bunch of stuff so he can put it up on eBay or whatever and do it that way. So those are the kind of things that they get put in a tough spot. But it's times are changing, man. I mean, we back in the 80s they said, you kids with your Guns N' Roses and your Motley Crue and your Nintendo and skateboards and whatever they were, you guys are going to grow up and be terrible or whatever. And so I guess we're those guys now talking about the current stuff.
Red, Rock, and Blue, summertime, which means that it's always here. What's happening with
well, we got registration underway for our softball tournament, our USSSA softball tournament, July 28th through the 30th at Oak Villa. Turf fields now at Oak Villa. Wow. Oh, my goodness. No longer have to worry about the rain as much, not at all, really, unless it's really, really bad. But now we can get a shower and get back on the field as opposed to having to cancel in the past. So you go to redrockandblue.com, register your team. We've got multi-platinum artist Vertical Horizon coming to the varsity August 19th to play, and we have a Catering reunion July the 8th. A bunch of bands that used to play the Catering before it burned down getting together. That has sold, I think, over 100 tickets already. People are really on that one, and that's a ways off. And then we have Chase Tyler, Ben Ragsdale, and some other country guys playing July 21st. So we got 3 concerts at the varsity this year that all benefit us. So that's what's happening with Red Rock and Blue. Citizens Bank is our title sponsor this year, and we appreciate their support.
RedRockandBlue.com. RedRockandBlue.com.
To support Louisiana military charities.
Jock, every Wednesday here with us. We'll be back with more of the show right after this. Close it out. R&B Builders, building us every day. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors,
Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
Welcome back here, Jordy Culotta Show. As always, built and brought to you by our friends over at RMB Builders. Get in touch with Rhett and the crew over at RMB. You can find them at rmb-builders.com. rmb-builders.com is where you can find them. Good stuff from Jacques. Appreciate him being there. Make sure you check out Red Rock and Blue. We will have tomorrow morning. We'll have Chris Blair. Will be here. We'll be talking about the regional and getting ready for it. So make sure you tune in to Chris Blair coming up here tomorrow morning. NBA news: the finals is set. Game 1 tomorrow night, live from Denver, as the Nuggets will be hosting the Miami Heat for the best of 7 series. So that will be a game 1 of the NBA finals. Some other NBA news. Big news that may go a little unseen here early in the NBA offseason, or just about the NBA offseason, is that Bob Myers, Golden State Warriors president, and really considered
the brains,
the architect of the Warriors, has stepped down from his position after a 12-year run. He just said it's time, he told Woj over at ESPN. He first joined the organization back in 2011 as a assistant general manager, and he was influential in bringing Kevin Durant to town. He was influential in bringing and putting together that Warriors dynasty, to be quite frank. Myers said to ESPN, the bottom line is the job requires complete engagement and complete effort, 1,000%. If you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. That's the answer to the question of why for Myers. Sounds like he's just lost the passion for it.
Well, I can't do this again, is what it sounds like to me. The amount of stress that goes into, I mean, the moves that he made were some of the more high-profile moves he's probably in NBA history. Whenever you put together a Steph and a Clay, and then they have, obviously, you get Draymond, but the stressors they went through with the Kevin Durant situation, and then to see probably this be at the back end of that big three, I'm sure he doesn't want to put together, where do I go from here? We got a bad contract with Jordan Poole. I know the team doesn't seem to be in the same spot it was. You know, I know they won a title 2 years ago, but he's probably seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and he doesn't want to do a full rebuild again.
That's true.
That's the hardest part of the gig. It was fun when it was fun.
Yeah. All right, make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Jordy Culotta Show brought to you by RMB Builders. Check us out on Instagram, on social media. Hit us at Culotta Show. We'll be back at 7 o'clock tomorrow.
Sorry. Is this going to be like the best 12-year stretch for Tulane? 12-month stretch and
Could be.
recent history.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for football.
Yeah, you got football. Now you have a baseball team make it into a regional, make it into a regional that was improbable. It just feels like Tulane's on a little bit of a heater, but it's a good time to be on campus. Mm-hmm. Keep seeing postseason play.
Check back in with us tomorrow morning. We'll be back with you.
How fast can we get Caleb Williams?
Oh, he's open!
No, he's not.
God, dude. Baker.
What are you doing? What are we doing? Look at the coach. Think, my hands on my head. Think, oh no, man, we don't have quarterbacks. We don't have a quarterback.
How fast can we get Caleb
Look at
Williams
Baker.
in this building?
I don't know what happened there.
Oh, am I up next?
Let's go, 6. You're up.
Let's see it, Heisman winner.
Oh man.
Throwing to me out there.
There we
go.
Babe.
Put it on the money.
Pick.
Put it on the money.
That's a pick.
Let Baker cook, baby.
There we go. There we go.
You're getting hot. They're getting hot.
He's eating up, coach.
Oh, man.
Is it really between him and Trask?
Yes.
That's all they have on the roster.
Coach, unless you see another one over there.
I don't. Oh, there you go, Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert. Wow.
Have you heard the story when Blaine Gabbert came in in Tennessee? Oh, he's talking to the offensive line, and I get Tannehill got hurt, and he comes into the huddle, smacks everybody on the head, on the butt. He goes, front 5. Let daddy cook. You just need some time, first play pick. They're like, he was the most confident quarterback you could ever ask for, but he just sucked.
Horrible.
Come on, daddy just needs a little time to cook.
Yeah, all right.
Check back in with us tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Have a great Wednesday.